The worst bondage you and I know is not trouble out here. It is the conviction in here that because a feeling shouts, it must be the truth. That is the quiet hypnosis of the race. We have been trained to treat emotional evidence as spiritual authority, to let fear publish our headlines, to let guilt become our judge and jury, to let loneliness prophesy a future without comfort. And I say to you, out of love and out of experience, this is slavery to a dream. Emotions testify to the dream. I am testifies to reality. Never forget this. Emotions testify to the dream. I am testifies to reality. Every morning, humanhood awakens and immediately checks its weather. A cloud of anxiety, a drizzle of regret, a gust of anger, an empty gray sky of what's the use? And by noon, we have written a biography out of it and called it My Life, as if the feeling were a telegram from God. Oh, but listen. God is not sending you messages through your nerves. The kingdom of God is within you, not in your adrenal glands. There is no God out in the climate of moods deciding your destiny by barometer. No. Stop such nonsense, and stop such nonsensical religion that confuses sensation with revelation. Emotion is weather. It moves, it changes, it passes across the sky. And yet we, heirs of the Most High, hand it the scepter as if a passing squall were a king. Do you see that? I am not asking you to deny the weather. I am saying, stop letting weather define the land. You can feel a storm in your chest and not build your house on it. You can weep and yet not worship the tears. You can feel a spike of fury and not enthrone it as your new theology. Emotions are experiences, not edicts. They are reports of what the human mind believes at the moment. They are not revelations of the I that was before the feeling and will remain when it is gone. Emotions testify to the dream. I am testifies to reality. But remember this. It doesn't come by asking God to take away the bad feeling. It comes by actually making contact with God. True prayer is not a plea for sunnier moods. True prayer is the realization of I am. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet, the presence that does not rise and fall with your pulse. When we let feeling dictate reality, we are hypnotized. When we return to the I that witnesses the feeling without bowing to it, we awaken. Our students are taught this. We are never asked to suppress emotion, to pretend composure, to stage a performance for heaven. We are asked to withdraw authority from sensation and relocate it in I am. That is mercy. That is dominion. And I promise you, we will make it practical. We will have a way, simple, repeatable in the very surge itself, to return to the inner witness without repression, without spiritual strain, and the grace of that contact will begin to order the outer life without our manipulation. For now, take this as the orienting truth of this work. Emotional intensity is not spiritual authority. When feeling dictates reality, we are asleep. When I am is recognized, we awaken. Do you see that? Let us make a simple distinction that saves years of wandering. Emotion, as we use the word here, is a bodily mental reaction. It is a tightening in the belly with a thought attached to it. It is a rush of heat in the face with a verdict riding on top. It is memory rehearsing yesterday's failure while the hands go cold. It is prediction painting tomorrow black while the throat closes before you dial the number. Fear before a call, shame after a mistake, anger when you are crossed, elation when you are praised. These are sensations clothed in interpretation. They begin, they crest, they pass. They are weather on the screen of the nervous system, tied to thoughts of past and future. Do you see that? Revelation is of another order. Revelation does not argue. It does not shout. It does not come laden with always and never and no way out. Revelation arrives quiet, changeless, like a presence filling a room, and you do not know how it entered because, truthfully, it never was absent. Revelation does not need your adrenaline to prove itself. It is the rock. Sensation needs drama. It must impersonate truth by volume, by pressure, by the absolute language of panic. It will always be this way. You will never be free. There is no way out. And the human mind, poor thing, confuses volume with validity and pressure with prophecy. Oh no, stop such nonsense. The more noise a thing makes, the less it knows. Truth stands. Now this is our foundation. Emotion is an experience, not a revelation. It can be felt fully without being believed as final. The world of appearances is not only the sickness and the lack and the war out there. It is also the moods and the tempers and the spikes of guilt in here. The dream is not merely in the newspapers. It is in the bloodstream's tides and the mind's movies. When an emotion swells, do not treat it as a prophet. Treat it as a signal. I am touching the dream of separation, the suggestion that I am apart from my own source, apart from good, apart from safety. And when you recognize that, you have already withdrawn half its power. Do you see that? But if I refuse the evidence, am I not suppressing? No, it is the opposite. You are relocating authority. You are saying, I will let the feeling be felt as a bodily event, but I will not enthrone it as my law. You are saying, I give it no scepter, no crown, no right to declare who I am or what tomorrow must be. This is not pretense. This is sanity. This is remembering that if you can feel it, it can change. If it can change, it cannot be the rock. Our students are taught to notice the impersonation. Notice how fear borrows the name of truth, and how shame wraps itself in righteousness. Notice the absolutes on which emotion rides, and gently, firmly, take back the gavel. Give it not to sensation, but to I am. The kingdom of God is within you, not in the tremor of your stomach, not in the flush of your cheeks, not in the pace of your heart. Feel what comes. Refuse it the throne. Let the weather move. Let the land remain. Then, without struggle, revelation begins to make itself known. A quiet certainty, not about how the scene must change, but about who and what is here, unshaken, behind every scene. And that is the beginning of dominion. Now, if emotion is weather, what is the land on which it moves? If moods pass like clouds, what is the sky that never tears? Meet the inner witness, the I that is not the person with a yesterday and a tomorrow, not the biography and its successes and failures, not the bundle of preferences and injuries. I say to you, out of love and out of the living of this way, the I that is your life is impersonal. And it is closer to you than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. It is not up there, and it is not out there. The kingdom of God is within you. Do you see that? I am is not an affirmation trick. It is not a slogan you throw at fear to bully it into retreat. Oh no, stop such nonsense. I am is recognition, actually, of presence. It is the felt, wordless fact that being is here, before a thought names it, before a feeling judges it. Emotions will shout, "I am afraid, I am guilty, I am alone." But I am says only, "I am." Before fear, I am. During fear, I am. After fear, I am. Therefore, fear cannot define you. It can only pass across you. You are not the sentence the mood writes. You are the page on which no ink can stain the substance. Do you see that? This is where dominion begins. Because dominion is a spiritual law, as precise as gravity. What you accept as your witness becomes your world, and what you consult as authority becomes your demonstration. If you consult emotion as your authority, you will demonstrate its prophecy. If you consult I am as your witness, you will demonstrate its peace. Leave the outer conditions as they are for the moment. Seek the inner center. The vine is the life of the branch. The branch does not plead with the vine to send sap. It abides. Abide in I am, and watch grace order the affairs that you could not bully or bargain into shape. Now, how do we meet this witness? Gently, quietly. Not by forcing a mood, not by manipulating breath or mind, but by recognition. Just for a moment, gently, quietly, let the word I rest in you. Not I the anxious, not I the achiever, not I the failure. Simply, I am. Let it be as if you are not saying it at all, but hearing it arise from a depth that is not in time. I am. Do not add qualities. Do not decorate it. Stay with the naked presence of being. And as you do, notice how the weather speaks louder at first, as if to reclaim the throne. Let it speak, and do not move. I am. The witness witnesses. Do you see that? The storm does not have to stop for the witness to be present. If I make my bed in hell, thou art there. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Not because the valley has vanished, but because presence is not absent in it. This is dominion. It is not a mood you hold. It is the fact you recognize. And the more faithfully you consult this inner I as your authority, the more lawfully grace will show forth as health, as supply, as right action, without strain, without defense, without condemning yourself or your neighbor. Begin here, and you have begun everywhere. I am. Now we make the turn that saves years. Stop asking life to change. Stop asking moods to be kinder. Stop begging conditions, inner or outer, to behave. Leave them as they are for the moment and make contact. Actually, with the I that is God within you. Never forget this. It doesn't come by pleading with your fear as if it were a monarch that might grant you a pardon. It comes by the realization of I am. And then, as law, grace begins to act upon the scene without your wrestling it into order. Do you see that? There are only two approaches, and the world lives in the wrong one. The first is emotional combat, arguing with the feeling, suppressing it under white-knuckled positivity, managing it with tricks, fixing it with bargains. If I breathe this way, if I chant long enough, if I think nicer thoughts, maybe the dragon will sleep. Oh, stop such nonsense. That entire approach still enthrones emotion as king. Trying to feel better is bowing to the idol. It accepts the premise that feeling is the boss and you must negotiate with it. And if feeling is the boss, you will obey its prophecy. That is hypnosis. The second is our way. Inner contact. Be still and know. Rest in I am without asking it to perform, without ordering it to chase off a mood, without making a ritual out of self-improvement. Gently, quietly, you return to the fact. I am. Not asking God to remove fear, contacting God until fear is revealed as not power. Not demanding that sadness smile, abiding in presence until sadness has no scepter. Not pleading with supply, recognizing the vine until branch life flows of itself. This is not passivity. This is dominion. It is the refusal to fight shadows when the sun is at hand. But isn't that irresponsible? No, it's the opposite. Leave the outer life alone for a moment and seek the kingdom within, and the inner grace begins to influence the outer life, health, character, supply, without your bullying and without your bargaining. Petition says, change this. Contact says, God is. Petition keeps you outside the gate, nose pressed to the window. Contact sits at the table and eats the bread of life. Do you see that? Our students are taught this. You do not conquer storms by shouting at the wind or stapling clouds into shapes you prefer. You abide. You recognize. You let I am be the only witness with authority. Then, without strain, fear is seen as weather, guilt as vapor, anger as a gust without law. They may move through, but they have no jurisdiction. And as that recognition stabilizes, not once, but as a way, you will find that the very scenes which once provoked combat begin to reorganize under grace. Not because you whipped them, but because you ceased worshiping them. I and the Father are one. That is our practice, our law, our peace. Now let me give you the way. Simple, quiet, repeatable in the very moment when the weather rises. 3 moves. Not to conquer a feeling, not to bargain with it. To return to I am, and let grace take its own lawful course. First, name without crowning. When the wave rises, do not say, I am afraid. You have already seated the throne with that sentence. Say, fear is present. If anger burns, anger is present. If grief aches, grief is present. This is not psychology. It is spiritual jurisdiction. You are refusing identity fusion. You are acknowledging a weather pattern without handing it the scepter. You are saying, a sensation is moving on the screen. Do you see the difference between feeling fear and being fear? That one sentence saves a life. It saves yours in that minute. It stops the hypnosis that says, because I feel it, I am it. Second, withdraw jurisdiction. The feeling will rush to seize the bench, to bang the gavel, to decree doom. Gently, firmly, you take back the bench. This feeling is not a decree. It is not a prophecy. It is not my life. Say it as law. Not shouted, not dramatic. Law. It is weather on the land, but it is not the land. It has no authority to announce what God is or what I am. You are not repressing anything. You are revoking a counterfeit license. You are unmasking the impersonation of truth that rides on sensation. Our students are taught this. You do not argue with the emotion. You dissolve its jurisdiction, by refusing it the witness stand. Third, establish contact. Now, without strain, without trying to make the waves stop, return to the simplest recognition. I am. Not as a club to beat the feeling, not as a charm to force relief, as a resting place of awareness. Let your inner posture be quietness itself, shoulders soft, jaw unclenched, breath unmanaged, attention resting back of the storm. Inner listening, a relaxation in it. If words arise, let them be this much and no more. I am. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Let it be as if you hear it, not make it. Abide there. Contact, not conduct. Realization, not ritual. Again and again we return. Not once, again and again. Every time the weather changes. Fear is present. It has no jurisdiction. I am. Shame is present. It is not a decree. I am. Loneliness is present. It is not my life. I am. And while you rest here, you will notice something lawful. Sometimes the feeling lifts quickly, as fog burned off by a sun you did not manufacture. Sometimes it remains for a while, but it loses its crown. It cannot prophesy, it cannot dictate, it cannot darken the horizon. Either way, dominion is restored because authority has been relocated to the witness and not the weather. Do not be concerned with timing. Be faithful to the sequence. Name without crowning. Withdraw jurisdiction. Establish contact. Hold yourself quietly, humbly, in that recognition. Do you see that? When you do this, you have not suppressed a thing, and you have not worshipped a thing. You have let the feeling be there without serving it, and you have returned to the one presence that is your life. And from that presence, as law, grace begins to order the scene, within and without your bargaining, without your bullying, and without your fear. Now let me tell you why the weather seems so wise, why it feels as if it knows the future and can swear to the past. Emotion rises, not out of God's now, but out of yesterday's pictures and tomorrow's forecasts, stitched together by imagination and pumped through the nerves. Memory says, "Look what happened." Prediction answers, "It will happen again." And the body becomes the loudspeaker for both. But remember this: God does not dwell in a scrapbook of old injuries, and God is not hiding in a fortune teller's booth. God is I am, now, closer to you than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Do you see that? This is why the dream repeats. The same fear returns, and the same resentment, and the same shame, like actors waiting for their cue, because we keep handing them the script called I. We attach identity to weather. I am anxious. I am bitter. I am unworthy. And that sentence is a key you do not realize you are turning. Say it often enough, and you have leased the house to a tenant called separation. But when you begin, as you have been taught, to say, "Fear is present," you have already revoked the lease. The actor may still show up for a while, but without your name on its contract, it cannot headline your life. At the root of every surge is one poisonous suggestion with 3 masks. You are alone. You are unsafe. You are unworthy. And emotion, agitated by memory and prediction, tries to present the body as proof. See the tight chest? Proof. Hear the racing thoughts? Proof. Oh, stop such nonsense. These are claims, not truths. Anxieties, regrets, jealousies, resentments, self-condemnations, discouragements, panics, dreads, claims, all of them, making loud affidavits for a God of absence. And I say to you with love and with the authority of this way, there is no such God. The kingdom of God is within you. Where could absence be if presence is the fact of your being? Never forget this checkpoint. Let it stand as law in your heart. If God is present, what can any emotion testify to except the dream that God is not? Do you see that? The louder the emotion argues, the clearer you may become. It is arguing for absence. Therefore, it cannot be my authority. It may pass through, but it cannot define, decree, or determine. It has no jurisdiction in I am. So when the old pictures flash, and the body shouts its prophecies, you do not plead with them, and you do not fight them. You return, actually, to contact. I am. And as you abide, the root lie, separation, loses oxygen. For where I am is recognized, the dream is exposed as suggestion, not fact. A moving claim, not the rock. Then, as law, grace begins to reorder memory and silence prediction, not by erasing your history, but by removing its authority, until only presence remains the witness, and the weather has no throne. There is a law here, moral psychology as spiritual physics. And unless we recognize it, we will keep circling in the same storm, reciting new prayers with the same old barrier in place. Hatred, judgment, condemnation, these are not mere bad habits. They are an inner barricade erected against the very contact we seek. Not because God withdraws. Oh no. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. God is closer to you than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. But judgment draws a curtain over your own awareness, and then you say, why is it dark? Do you see that? Condemnation feels like strength, but it is weakness, because it closes the door, and then we blame the darkness. Now watch the loop. Judgment produces the very emotions we then obey. We condemn a brother, and immediately bitterness flickers in the chest. Superiority warms the face. Agitation rattles the breath. And after the heat dies down, shame arrives to collect the bill. Then we take those sensations as authority and march under their flag. This is emotional hypnosis disguised as righteousness. Stop such nonsense. Judge not that ye be not judged is not a moral scold. It is spiritual law. What you withhold in condemnation, you withhold from your own receptivity. What you tie up in resentment, you tie around your own heart. Remember our way. It does not come by asking God to reward your moral posture. It comes by actually making contact with God. And judgment is the one posture that chokes contact at the throat. Grace does not require that you first become good. Absolutely none. We are not asked to get good to earn grace. We are asked to drop judgment so nothing blocks grace from being realized. Neither do I condemn thee. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. 70 times 7. The adulterer is not disqualified. The thief on a cross is not disqualified. The hypocrite who preached and then failed is not disqualified. The spiritual student who failed again this morning is not disqualified. Only condemnation disqualifies, and only because it slams your own door. Let us be practical. Take an inventory. Quietly, this very day, ask within, Whom am I condemning? Name them without crowning. Resentment is present toward my father. Judgment is present toward my co-worker. Self-condemnation is present toward my own past. Notice where the body spikes: tight jaw, hot stomach, cold hands. Do not worship the spike. Do not argue with it. Withdraw its jurisdiction. This sensation is not a decree. Then establish contact. I am. And from that contact, release. Father, forgive. They know not what they do. I release them to God. I release myself to God. Not as a bargain, but as the removal of a barrier. Not to excuse evil, but to refuse enmity as your God. Our students are taught to keep this list short. Night by night, morning by morning. Clear it. If they return tomorrow, forgive 70 times 7. Each release reopens the window, and grace, this inner presence, moves of itself into the very places that accusation kept barren. Then watch how the weather quiets. Less agitation, less bitter rehearsal, less lonely superiority. Not because you became a better actor in the dream, but because you stopped damming the river. Do you see that? Judgment binds you to the picture you judge. Forgiveness returns you to I am, where dominion begins and the loop breaks under the weight of mercy. Now we come to the stance that integrates all we've said into the moment you are actually trembling. Non-resistance without submission. Let me say it plainly so there is no confusion. We do not resist emotion, because resistance is worship by another name and tightens the knot. We do not submit to emotion, because submission hands the scepter to weather and calls it law. We allow, and we do not serve. Yes, it is felt. No, it is not law. Do you see that? Allowing ends the shame. The surge is not failure. It is the classroom. It is not proof you have lost your way. It is the bell that rings. Practice dominion now. The old training says, push it down, cover it over, hurry into positivity. Oh, stop such nonsense. That is still bowing to the idol. Our way is quieter, truer, more fruitful. Feel what is present as sensation. Refuse it the bench. Return to I am. Not denial, recognition. Not suppression, withdrawal of authority. Not self-improvement, God realization. Take this in-the-moment script and keep it near the heart. This is a claim. I hear it. I do not accept it as truth. I rest in I am. Say it as law, not as a charm. This is a claim you have named without crowning. I hear it. You are not hiding in pretense. I do not accept it as truth, jurisdiction withdrawn. I rest in I am, contact, not conduct. And then be still. Shoulders soft, jaw unarmed, breath unmanaged, inner attention resting back of the noise. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Here is your checkpoint. Can you let a child cry in the house without handing the child the deed to the house? Do you see it now? The feeling may wail for a time. Let it wail. Feed no story. Make no vow under its spell. Sign no contracts with fear. Keep the deed in the rightful name. I am. The kingdom is within you, not within the child's tantrum, not within the pulse's thunder. You are not cruel to the child. You are kind and firm. Presence listens, but does not abdicate. When the wave rises, Do not bargain with it. Do not say, "If I breathe 3 more times, will you go?" Leave that outer life alone for a moment. Seek the kingdom of God within. Be still and know. Yes, it is felt. No, it is not law. Abide a minute or 2 or 10. Time is not our master. Sometimes the weather clears swiftly. Sometimes it lingers. Either way, it has lost its gavel. While it moves, you can make the call, send the letter, wash the dish, speak the gentle word, because authority is not in the feeling anymore. Never forget this. Serving a feeling is submission. Fighting a feeling is submission in armor. Recognizing a feeling and returning to I am is dominion. Let the feeling be there, but don't serve it. Let it pass, or let it stay for a while. No difference to the witness. And as you abide, grace, this inner presence, begins to reform the atmosphere. Less drama, more peace, clearer action. Without your bullying, without your bargaining. You have not crushed the child, and you have not crowned the child. You have kept the house in order under the one rightful owner. And that is freedom. Do you see that? Dominion is not a mood you chase and try to hold. Dominion is a pattern you live until it lives you. It is the practiced recognition of I am, again and again, morning, noon, and night, and especially at the very edge of provocation, when the child is loud in the house and the old story knocks at the door. Do you see that? We are not polishing a technique to win a prize from God. We are establishing contact until contact becomes our climate. Actually. This is all there is to it. Repeat the return so faithfully that the witness becomes the only witness you consult. Begin with a brief morning contact. Before you scroll, before you reach for coffee, be still and know. 3 minutes, 5, 10. Time is not your master. No petitions, no bargains, no scripts to force the sun to rise. Simply let the word I rest in you until it speaks itself. I am. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Don't decorate it. Don't add a plan for the day. Sit in the holy fact. I and the Father are one. Leave the outer life alone for a moment. Seek the kingdom of God within. Then go about your business, not high, not low, simply aligned. At midday, reset. When mood or memory or the marketplace grabs for the gavel, do not argue, do not submit. Name without crowning. This is a claim, fear is present, or irritation is present, or racing is present. Withdraw jurisdiction. This has no decree over I am. Establish contact. A breath not managed, shoulders soft, attention resting back. I am. 30 seconds in a hallway. 1 minute in a parked car. 10 seconds with your hand on a door before the meeting. Do you see how practical this is? We are not waiting for a monastery. We are returning to the monastery within. In the evening, release. Make no ledger of failures. Make a clearing of judgments. Quietly ask, whom am I condemning? Where am I tight? Name without crowning, revoke the sentence, and forgive. 70 times 7. Father, forgive. They know not what they do. I release them to God. I release myself to God. Not as a show of virtue, but as the removal of the curtain. Then rest again in I am. Let the night be carried by presence, not by rehearsal. Now the seal, inner to outer. As this rhythm roots, grace, this inner life of the vine, begins to order what you could not bully or bargain into place. Relationships soften because you stopped enthroning blame. Decisions clarify because you no longer ask panic to prophesy. Supply appears because you returned to source and ceased pleading with effects. Not magic, law. This inner grace begins to influence our outer life, and the scene is reformed without force because the witness has changed. Do you see that? And never forget this. It makes no difference what emotion you have today. Absolutely none. Grace is not earned by mood. You are not disqualified by heaviness, by old fear, by new sorrow. Wherever you are, valley or mountaintop, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Contact is the way. Contact is the door. Contact is the life. Now, begin to act as if it were so. Not theatrics. Obedience to reality. Make the next call. Take the next step. Speak the truth gently. Send the apology. Sign the paper if peace is in it. Decline if peace is not. You are not following a feeling. You are following I am. Dominion is present now. Let this be your cadence. Quiet, steady, law. Emotions testify to the dream. I am testifies to reality. I am has dominion. Again, emotions testify to the dream. I am testifies to reality. I am has dominion. Once more, not to persuade God, but to remember God. Emotions testify to the dream. I am testifies to reality. I am has dominion. Now live it.